Hey, thanks for checking out my podcast, Conversations to Live a Hell Yes Life. This particular episode has some adult language, so just be mindful if you've got some sensitive ears around. Hey everybody, it's Barbara from Back to Life Massage and Bodywork, and I want to welcome you to my first podcast. This is Conversations to Live a Hell Yes Life, and my first guest is my very good friend, Dr. Jen Gunsaullus, and I'm so excited to be doing this with you.
I'm so honored I'm your first guest. Thank you, Barb.
Well, the whole premise of this podcast is to just have these conversations with women that I love, that inspire me, and I hope that they can inspire you to live a hell yes life. So Jen has been one of these people that we've been known each other since 2006. We've been friends, and we were kind of just brought together. I was actually producing a show, a fundraiser for a nonprofit here in San Diego of the Vagina Monologues. And somebody in the organization had just met Dr. Jen. She just moved here from Philadelphia, I think.
A few years earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, but she had seen me direct the Vagina Monologue somewhere else. So.
And she was like, oh my God, you have to meet this Dr. Jen person. So we actually got set up on like a blind date, sort of. And we met at a coffee shop here in Pacific Beach. And ever since then, we've been friends. And I remember one of our first adventures, a couple weeks after we met. So Eve Ensler is the writer creator of the Vagina Monologues, and she was performing a show in Los Angeles a couple weeks after Jen and I met, called The Good Body. And I wanted to see it so badly, and so did Jen. And so, I hardly know this person, barely know her, we're just new friends. And we're in the car, Jen's driving, and she's like, we're going to meet Eve today. And I was like, what? I'm like, I thought we were going to go to jail or something, for rushing Eve and her security and whatever, but didn't work out that way. We actually did get to meet Eve Ensler that day, but she was so like, we're making this happen today. I don't care how, if we have to sneak in and whatever. And I was like, oh, Jen, please don't get me arrested. I don't even know you. But I remember that was super funny. And ever since then, you're full of adventures.
Thank you.
Yes, every time I'm with you, there's always something fun. We do something crazy. So I would just love for you to tell everyone, what's your background and how did you, how did you end up in San Diego? What's your background, education, your interests?
Yeah, so I grew up in Pennsylvania, small town outside Philadelphia, and grew up a good girl and raised Catholic and followed the rules. But was really, really athletic and did arts and music and all sorts of stuff. And then went to college at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, and that's where I discovered feminism. Women's studies classes and women's rights and civil rights and all of that stuff, and just really became really passionate about a sense of justice. And became a sexual health educator also when I was an undergrad. So became really curious about how people make decisions, gender differences around decisions and condom use and the power dynamics between women and men in sexual situations. And just became really super fascinated about that. And then, I went to grad school, got my PhD in sociology with a specialty around sex and sexual health and gender. Got involved with doing sexual health peer education there as well. Got involved with the Vagina Monologues there and acted for the first time, and moved to San Diego 14 and a half years ago, just for the good weather, to follow the sun. I was in Albany, New York before that. I was like, no more cold winters, no more East Coast. And just, within days was like, oh my gosh, I'm so in the right place. And and so I have been, I call myself a rogue sociologist, because the sociologists were groomed to become professors of sociology or go, work at the census or a research think tank somewhere. And so I'm doing applied sociology, which doesn't necessarily exist that much, unfortunately. And since I've been out here in San Diego, I've really been on my own personal journey around mindfulness and yoga and personal growth and personal transformation work. And I integrate mindfulness and compassion into all of my work, which is working with clients, individuals, and couples, doing sex coaching type work. Public speaking is my real passion around the country, everything from CEO groups and talking about intimacy or erotic play to college campuses and doing consent work or even women's health conferences. And writing, working on my first book.
Yay!
And videos. I really like the multimedia aspect of education and around topics like sex that are so taboo and so shamed in our society still, at least open, frank conversations about them. I find social media, particularly doing YouTube videos and Facebook, an amazing way for people to learn, and get accurate information, but not have to put themselves out there at all and not ask. So it's just been incredible over the years, the number of folks that come up to me at like a party or a networking event and they're like totally following my social media stuff, but I wouldn't know it because they didn't necessarily like it or comment on it. Because they were afraid of then other people in their feed seeing that, but that they had the space to learn something and they would ask me questions about it.
That's so cool. So I love what you just said, that you are a rogue sociologist, because that totally, I totally see that in your personality. You kind of just go off and do your own thing. Yeah. But I can imagine that that has not been an easy path for you, because, you didn't really maybe have so many people to like aspire to or look up to, of like, how did you do that? So I know because I know you, you've been kind of you were on a certain path, and then you're like, no, I want to do this. And then, you had to figure out how to make that happen. And, there's probably been a lot of obstacles that people don't know about. People see people that are out there doing stuff and they think, oh, that just happened, and, but talk to us about some of like the obstacles that you have had to overcome over the years as you've been developing all these different things that you're doing.
Well, and it's funny because none of like where I am today, this was never planned. Even getting my PhD, I kind of stumbled into a program. I had only applied for a master's program, and I got accepted and got funding, which you're not supposed to get with just a master's program. And then they're like, oh, we made a mistake. And then I was like, well, wait a second, what am I going to do with a master's in sociology anyway? And I was like, I may as well stay in the PhD program, which is not the most motivating way to get a higher degree and finish it. Except for like, right now working on a book and getting that out there, that has been a very concerted effort over many years, and finding a publisher and editing it. Often, opportunities present themselves. I keep working really hard and being passionate about what I do and volunteering and putting myself, that's how we met, volunteering, and keep putting myself out there. And then opportunities, I meet great people and cool opportunities show up. But, by far the hardest part of this is completely the financial aspect. And I can remember, I'm 45 now, and I can remember being in my early 30s, like maybe 33 or something like that. And like people were starting to buy homes that I knew. And I'm like, buying a home? Like, how's that even a possible? Like, wow. And I was like, oh, right. You graduated from college and then started working and you made money. And I went to grad school and I'm still in grad school long distance. And now I'm adjunct teaching and doing other things as I finish my dissertation. And and I'm part of why I've been okay with that all along is that, the shoulds of society, you should have a house, you should be married, you should have kids and things like that. I haven't ascribed to them. That's what my parents modeled for me and are still together after 50 years, which is great, even in the same house that I grew up in, which is amazing.
Mine too.
But yeah, that's like
crazy.
I know crazy that we get to go home to that. It's really lucky. If I'm like, passionate about what I'm doing, I know I'm making a difference, and I'm surrounding by good people in my life, like that makes me happy, that feeds me, that fulfills me. And then I'm, practicing what I preach. But yeah, that financial piece, otherwise just on its own, it's hard. It's hard to, hit your late 30s and be like, I'm still, struggling some here. I was raised in a really frugal way, so I don't have debt, and, I don't spend more than I have. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not have that stability of knowing that a paycheck is coming in, and that like when the recession hit back in 2008, 2009, that sucked. That totally sucked. Because my coaching business was just really starting to take off, and then it just plummeted. Well,
how do you reconcile that? Like, how do you not lose faith, and like, how do you not give up?
A couple things. One of it is because I care so much about what I do. I am so we suck at sex education in our society. We are, we think nudity is a bad thing in our society and shame that and make that the same as sexuality. So at a basic bodily level in our society, we're so backwards and messed up and stigmatizing and shameful and judging. And so I care so much about creating safe spaces for people to learn and or grow, around sexuality, and that they're not shamed for just being a human and just wanting to connect with someone else and just wanting to express their sexuality. And there's so many nuances to that. And so one thing I'm so passionate about that. Two, I am frugal. That makes a difference.
I know you're frugal, yes. I'm very aware of your frugalness.
Shop at thrift stores. I actually really like them. So I can live simply. However, I've also been really lucky along the way. Like for example, my dad's always been into computers and electronics. So like in grad school, I couldn't afford a laptop or something like that. I would get his old stuff passed down. So I'm like super lucky that I was able to get that support in that way from my family, along the way. And, I don't know. I don't know if this is a natural thing or not, but like I have a lot of grit. I will just keep, I had friends a long time ago that said, Dr. Jen, if anybody we know, you just keep throwing shit against the wall to see what'll stick. And I was like, thank you, yes. And you know what it is? And so sometimes I try something new, or I plan for this whole big workshop and I do all this marketing and 2 people show up, like that used to happen. And it was so disappointing and no financial, I'm not getting paid then. And it's such a struggle, but I think the difference is I don't perceive that as like a personal flaw, or that I've fucked up. I perceive it as, okay, I'm learning and growing. Like, so this idea didn't work, or what could I have tried differently? So I don't beat myself up. There's no shame cycle around it. I take responsibility. Like, okay, I tried this. This didn't work out the way I hoped. Do I want to try this again? Would it be worthwhile? Let me, balance it. If I do it again, can I do something different that I think would make it more worthwhile? And there's just, there's so many components of what it is to do our work in that way. So because frankly, the only way we move through life is trial and error. Like, there's no other way to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
And so to pretend that there is, or like, I should have known, well, presuming you were doing your best, you brought the best of your knowledge to what you were doing in that moment. And then it didn't work. Okay, so what can you do with that to learn and grow and move on?
I love that you're talking about like not feeling that shame, because one of the things that my coach has brought to light for me, my business coach, I have a couple, but one of them has said, and Kyle Cease is a guy that I follow. He talks about this a lot too. It's like, if you're doing something you've never done before, how could you possibly know how to do it?
Right.
I mean, it's like, and I was actually thinking about this on the way over here.
Yeah.
Like, when we were children, we were learning how to walk. It's like, we didn't know what we were doing, and we just kept going until we learned how to do it. Or when we're riding a bike, and it seems like...
Right, nobody's like, stupid? Why do you not know how to walk?
Right,
Like,
after one time.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so it's like, but as adults, I think there's something that shifts at a certain time in our lives where it's like, we feel like, oh, I should know how to do this. And then like, if it doesn't turn out right the first time, then we're like, well, I tried that didn't work. Okay, I guess I'm a failure. But I love how you're talking about there's no shame in like putting yourself out there. And it's all just, I try to tell people too, like, it's all just information. It's all just information that you're getting back. So if you attach a label to it, then that's where it might start to be a problem for you.
You attach meaning to it, a value.
But if you can just go into it and be like, I'm just going to learn what I can from this. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm still going to learn something. And I'm going to grow from this, and I'm going to do better the next time, or whatever. I'm going to go in a different direction. But it's going to be information that's going to tell you what to do next. Good. So
that's a fantastic perspective in life. Yeah.
Well, is there like one fear or obstacle that still challenges you these days? Anything?
I'd say, I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. Because my topics that I work on, which is gender, sexuality, or racial topics, or relationship topics, they're so often in mainstream society, we've taken a very sort of black and white approach. They're rather not nuanced, right? And like, you know, and I'm a white person, and I'm a cisgender female, and identify as heterosexual, and I grew up middle class, and like that, there's a lot of mainstream views on society that I was raised with, and how I view the world. And so for me, it's a constant challenge of calling myself out and holding myself to higher levels of being like, oh, am I leaving this person's voice out? If somebody who was identified as transgender, you know, was reading this, would they feel alienated by this? And just having that awareness of my my privilege, my white privilege, and wanting to be mindful of you know, being sensitive to as many perspectives as possible. And then on the flip side, I carry fear then of being attacked, that I said something wrong or did something wrong. And I know my intentions are very good, and I hold myself to a high level of educating myself around this. As a sociologist, this was my education. But with social media and people, you know, jumping on each other, like, I have concern around that. The more I put my voice out there of screwing up, in which case I'll own it, you know, and apologize and own it, or just it being misconstrued and you know, hitting somebody in the wrong way, and that my voice is taken away from me and I can't explain myself, or it looks like I'm defending myself. I don't know. So those things around it, because of my topics, and I really care about these topics. It's not just, you know, it's not being politically correct. Like, I care about these things. That's an ongoing struggle.
Now, how do you deal with that fear of, you know, being criticized when you're online? Because I know a lot of people that I know in my coaching program, I mean, we're putting ourselves out there in brand new ways and expressing ourselves, and people might be like, who are you to do this? You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a doctor. You're not a therapist, whatever. You know, I'm doing this coaching thing, and it's new to me, and I know the difference between coaching and therapy, but, you know, what do you do when people, like, throw stuff back at you and say, like, you know, who are you to do this, or they're just critical?
Frankly, having a PhD, I don't get that because of that.
Okay.
Like, that does. That takes care of a lot of that. They're like, oh, shit, she's a doctor. Okay. Even if I'm talking about something I don't know. But so, I mean, that is to my benefit, that, you know, that I spent the time in education doing that. Otherwise, I think...
so you don't really have any trolls or anything like that are like...
Oh, I have trolls for completely different reasons.
Oh, okay.
Oh, because you know, I'm people that are very, like, anti-feminist, or, you know, men that get angry, or my consent perspective. Sometimes older women get upset. Oh, I've got plenty of people that attack me online and on videos. I actually, like, that type of stuff. Some of that, you know, some of it, I like when new Facebook, new YouTube comments pop up, I will scan it really quickly to get a vibe of it. Like, do I actually want to read this? You know, or is it somebody's like, yeah, I'd fuck you so hard, you know, like, no, thank you, you know, like, meh. Or is it somebody, you know, just doing a personal character attack, which they'll do sometimes, you know, or if it's positive, yay, read it.
So do you feel like you have to have a little bit of a thick skin?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But that takes time.
Yeah, how have you, like, kind of managed
because
to
I've
grow
had
that?
so many years. I mean, I started doing my In the Den with Dr. Jen video series, you know, 12 years ago, and putting myself out there on videos, and nobody was really doing that yet, professionally, certainly not talking about sex. So, and then every week I'd have to review my video and give feedback. I'm like, oh my God, I have to watch myself every week on video. And then eventually I just start being like, oh yeah, I've got that tick. Oh yeah, when I'm tired, this eye gets droopy. Oh yeah, I misspoke there a little bit. It's not worth their time editing it out. I really gave myself permission just to be fully, you know, flawed and messy as a human as I am, but knowing that I'm always trying and doing the best that I can. So
well, I think that's a great perspective too, because, you know, letting it be messy, like, be real, like, that's, people want to see, like, authentic, real people. They don't want to see, like, that perfect little picture that it's like, you know, they can't relate to that person. So I think that's always been something that I've admired about you. It's like, you're always super real.
Thank you.
So over the years, who have been, like, the teachers and the mentors and people that inspire you to like keep going and just kind of, you know, you want to aspire to a higher level?
It's interesting. I mean, you mentioned Eve Ensler at the start of this, and she's been an inspiration for her to gather women's stories and create a play about it, her own story being a part of this, of sexual abuse, and then to travel the world and really take this message to populations of women who are really disempowered and oppressed, and just walking that talk and really making a difference in the world and putting herself out there. So, I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, that's being of service to the world around a really difficult topic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, most recently, there's not the person as much but their writing, but Pema Chodron, who writes about Buddhism and mindfulness and compassion.
Cool.
Her work is like a freaking Bible to me. I could probably reach 4 of her books right now. They are never far. I often just have one in my backpack just because it's there. And I'm not usually like that with stuff, but her words are just so profound, and I could be in a, you know, caught up in something or upset about something and literally read 2 pages of her book, and it just whoosh, opens my heart and grounds me. It's incredible.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well,
one of the things that, you know, that stands out to me in my life is that there's been like, I see these little touchstones where there's been like these really pivotal moments where like some huge change happens because I just can't continue on in a certain way, and like my heart and my soul and my being is just like, no, we can't do this anymore. And I can kind of like document like a few of those over time. Has there ever been anything like that for you, where it was just like you were doing something and, you know, that just something that just wasn't feeding you, and then there was just this huge pivotal moment where you're just like, enough?
I'd say my move to San Diego. That's one of the biggest ones, because, you know, a few years before that, I had kind of had a driving phobia for years and didn't really drive. And I picked a college and grad school close enough to my family on the East Coast because I was really close to them, and I could have never imagined moving far away. And then as I visited San Diego for the first time in March, and I was like, there is a place that's like this in March? And it was like my birthday, and it was beautiful, and it was warm, and it was sunny, and I went back to like rainy, snowy Albany, and everybody's depressed and on anti-anxiety medication, and it was just, and I'm like, no, and because I had planned on moving to DC or New York City after I finished my dissertation, and I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm moving to San Diego, which is insane. And I started telling everybody, because I knew if I told everybody, I'd keep to my word. I don't just talk shit. And
yeah, you do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I talk shit in sports a little bit. Yeah. Not too much though. But and that it would hold, because I knew it was like that. I know this is right, and I know I'm going to be scared shitless as I get closer to making that move. And it took me 8 months to get to the point of finishing my proposal for my dissertation and defending that and doing most of my field work for my dissertation, packing up, moving out of my Albany apartment. And then I drove 2 weeks cross country alone and moved to San Diego and didn't know anybody. And it was just terrifying and so out of character for me in so many ways, but out of character for hang-ups and insecurities I had gotten caught in, not out of character for what really is my core essence and who I am in this world. I'm a pretty ballsy person. I guess pretty ovary-y person.
Exactly.
I'm going to take claim of our reproduction and its strength. That's definitely one of those moments. And it's just a knowing. And like, ooh, this is going to be a big change. But yeah.
Cool. I did not know that story. Obviously I knew that you moved out here, but I didn't know a lot about that pivotal moment there. So, you know, like this podcast and my new coaching program that I'm doing is all about living a hell yes life and just having these conversations and really helping to inspire people to really live more authentically who they are and just follow their passions more. And so I want to know from you, what does it mean for you to live a hell yes life?
It's
at least today in this moment.
Yeah. Yes. Seeing as sex is my field, it could mean a lot of really juicy things. To me, it means unlearning how I've been socialized as a woman in our society. To say yes and go along with things, say with men sexually, or just particularly with men or in relationships, and being like, I'm not sure about this, well, let me see, or this guy asked me out, I'm getting a really bad vibe off of this, and this doesn't feel right, so I'm going to say no. And he's like, oh, come on, give me a chance. And then even my male friends will be like, give him a chance. And then I'm like, no, like, this is an inner knowing. I know this intuition is right. This does not lead me astray. When there's something, I'm like, something's off. Don't do it, or you're going to regret it afterwards. And so it's living a hell yes life is trusting my intuition at even deeper levels and breaking the social norms, how I've been taught as a woman to be nice, or to not rock the boat, to not make others uncomfortable. And I'm particularly in my dating life.
Nice.
Yeah, I say no a lot.
Yes,
now.
because I always talk about, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no, but also learning how, like, you're saying yes to yourself. And so that's where that comes in. Like, you might be saying no to somebody, but you're saying, anytime you say yes, you're always saying no to something.
Yeah.
So when you say yes to yourself, you're saying no to that person, and you're honoring yourself. And I think that's super important. So,
and you still be really nice and polite in how you do it. And if they give you pushback, you be like, you are so not honoring my no.
Yeah, and then it's like, it even makes that yes even more strong, because it's like, well, now I know for sure that it was the right thing for me to do.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're like, I knew you were that type of person.
Exactly. Cool. Well, so I want to just end our session here with, like, kind of leave us with some, what are some empowering words, or like the most empowering words that you use for yourself, or like an empowering phrase that you use for yourself, or something maybe currently that you're using for yourself?
When I was actively doing In the Den with Dr. Jen, my video series, I ended every episode by saying, do you remember?
Be kind to yourself, and you'd wait for something.
Right, be kind to yourself.
Yeah,
I know. The wink was more because I just felt awkward, I think, and the sound. But that be kind to yourself, over and over again. Even when I'm, really going full tilt of practicing mindfulness and staying present in an awkward, uncomfortable, sad or hurtful or disappointing situation, say in a dating situation or something, and I'm sitting with that and sitting with the mindfulness, and I can feel it viscerally all over. I also need to remember to be kind to myself. And that doesn't mean by, like, doing 4 shots and getting rid of it, or eating a pint of ice cream.
Well, that might be. Depends on the day.
I know. But what it means is just having compassion for myself.
Nice.
I've sort of evolved that be kind to yourself type thing. To, like, not beating ourselves up, but have compassion for myself. Like, when I am doing a really good job of practicing what I preach, that's really hard. Like, just have a sense of gentle kindness for myself in that process. And that's amazing, because then I'm sitting with all of this angst and I'm with it, and then I could shift to compassion for myself. And it's very heart-opening. It's a really beautiful feeling.
Yeah, I know that both of us have gone through, we know a woman named Sarah Shire who runs a nonprofit here in San Diego, Compassionate. And we've both gone through her compassion training workshop. It's an 8-week class.
It's incredible.
And I loved that the first 2 weeks were, self-compassion was the first 2 weeks, I think, something around there. But there was 2 weeks where it was like self-compassion, because it's so easy to have compassion for other people, but it's really hard for us to have compassion for ourselves. And so I remember that was a really cool thing for me to practice as well when I did it. And I love that you're still, and I think on your voicemail too, when you leave a voicemail, it's like, be kind to yourself, or have a passionate day. Yes, exactly. But be kind to yourself. I remember that from your videos, and yes, that's such a cool thing. So if people want to find you and learn more about you and your inspiring message that you're putting out in the world, where can they find you?
That would be amazing. So my website is drjensden.com. I presume you'll put this in show notes.
And it's JENN. Double N.
So it's drjennsden.com. That's my website. That is also my handle for all my social media. So Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube is all Dr. Jen's Den.
Yes, and you should check out Dr. Jen on YouTube, because she has all of her In the Den with Dr. Jen videos.
This one's in one of my videos.
I'm in one of. I think I was giving somebody a foot massage or something. I think that was the one you're talking about, right?
You were talking about massage some. Yeah, there was something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. But she did a whole series. I think there was like 200 episodes of In the Den with Dr. Jen. It was a video series. and there's lots of other stuff. And she's done 2 TED Talks.
TEDx Talks.
Well,
just to
still
clarify.
it's in the TED family.
But yes,
So
the TED family.
so check her out. And she's done some really cool speaking gigs here in San Diego, and that's all on her YouTube channel. So thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your inspiration with us. And I hope that this inspires some other women, and I hope some people check you out, because I'm so blessed to be your friend, and I get to sit in her living room and just be with her and be inspired by her. And Jen is just an amazing person. So I hope all of you check her out and find some inspiration. And I will just see you the next episode. Look for us. This is the first episode. It's going to be out September 1st, hopefully. So look for this and more conversations on how to live a hell yes life. Here's my vibrator necklace. Leaving you with that. Take care. Have a great day.
Bye, folks.
Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or suggestions for upcoming episodes, drop me a note at bmiller@backtolifemassage.sd.com. You can also follow me at Back to Life Massage SD on Facebook and YouTube, or visit me at my website, backtolifemassage.sd.com. Until next time, keep living that hell yes life.